Yes, it should start. Then we won't lose anything. Okay, it started. Now we can go.
All right. So thanks again for the introduction, Gara. I will now take over and start with a brief introduction of the SAP Digital Manufacturing Cloud. So the SAP Digital Manufacturing Cloud, or DMC, is a fully cloud-based manufacturing execution system that focuses on the execution, the data analysis, the control, and the integration of manufacturing processes. And the DMC connects to the shop floor with the business system to optimize resources and execution. So the DMC can be integrated with different SAP business systems like the SAP ERP, the S/4HANA, the S/4HANA Cloud, but also with the manufacturing execution, the manufacturing intelligence and integration and intelligence, and also as part of the machine connectivity with SAP plant connectivity. SAP DMC has integrated planning, execution, and reporting functions, which can be divided into SAP Resource, DMC Resource Orchestration, the SAP DMC Manufacturing Insights, and the Manufacturing Execution. So a few words to them. So the detailed scheduling can take place in the Resource Orchestration. There it is possible to create detailed scheduling plans for production orders, manually or auto-dispatch orders, and also to track production execution. Other functionalities would be the releasing or the splitting of orders, the scheduling of labor, and also the scheduling and reserving of tools. The Manufacturing Cloud for Insights is an analytics application for manufacturing industries. So it analyzes standard or custom manufacturing KPIs using individually defined dashboards. And last but not least, we have the SAP Digital Manufacturing Cloud for Execution. It's designed to realize 100% digital production with the aim of increasing the quality, ensuring traceability, and also managing the production in the most efficient way, while supporting various integration scenarios for both the discrete and also the process industries. And this is also the area where we want to stay today and want to go deeper. And as our webinar title today is MES in Cloud also flexible? I want to give you an overview over standard functionalities in the DMC, but also over the possibilities you have when these standard functionalities cannot fulfill the needs of your production processes or your customers' production processes. And even though the standard functionalities of the DMC are constantly growing with each quarterly release, the importance and the motivation for extensions is driven by first, complex production processes, and second, individual customer requirements. And therefore, SAP provides you the opportunity to extend the DMC with custom developments and additional functionalities in different areas. And the main areas are the business process extensions, the user interface extensions, and the machine learning extensions. So let's start with the business process extensions. As a manufacturer, and each production process is individual, some processes need additional extensions, for example, to connect and communicate with external systems. So the business process extension can be used to make calls to third-party web services or to make calls to SAP MII transactions and to execute applications deployed in the SAP Business Technology Platform. I will talk about this platform later, and also Adit will explain a little bit about it. So the machine learning extensions, they are designed specifically for the artificial intelligence scenario of visual inspection. So the goal with these extensions is to simplify the process of integrating a new machine learning model into the business process. And it allows you to upload a trained machine learning model and activate it for use on the shop floor. And last but not least, there is the user interface extension, also called PUD extension. And as I want to go deeper, especially in this topic, and show later in system demos, I will now talk a little bit about the PUD itself and the standard functionalities in the DMC before I will come back to this special user interface extensions. So one of the most important parts of the Digital Manufacturing Cloud execution and of a manufacturing execution system in general is the production operator dashboard, or POD or PUD. It's the primary interface between the shop floor operator and the application containing the manufacturing data. And therefore, it provides the operator with instant information about the production, such as produced amounts, scrap amounts, or machine effectiveness during their work. And to give a little bit of an example of how a pod with these standard functionalities of the DMC can look like, we have here an in-system demo of one of our showcases. So just a quick reminder, we have here a video embedded in the presentation. You can click here on this button, then you can make it full screen for you and can see the video in each detail. Okay, then I will start the video. We have here a pod on the top. You can see the name of this PUD. You can also see in which plant you are right in. So we are now in the plant 1220, where we have our showcases. Right underneath, we have here the work center and also the resource which are required to see the data in the PUD. And this is also pre-filled, and therefore we have entries in the work list below. So there are 9 SFCs in this work list, also with additional data when this SFC was queued, which order, and also the material for each SFC. When selecting it, you get even more data. You have then on the right side an SFC card. You can see there then a little picture, so we can see it's the assembly of a 3D printer. We have here also the work center, the material description, and the SFC quantity. Right underneath, we have here the operation activity list. So all the operations for this SFC at this work center. In this case, it's only one. And we have here, for example, the planned starting date of this operation, the completion date of this operation, different quantities of this operation, and also additional data. On the left side here in the big column, we have the work instructions, so a work instruction list with different kind of work instruction pictures, 3D models, and also here a component list. So there are all the components which we need to assemble the 3D printer. To control all these data and all these SFCs, there are a few buttons there. For example, the start button. I think it's familiar, so you can start the SFC. It went in green. Also in the operation list, the operation is green, and you can see the message toast that the SFC was successfully started at this work center and at this resource. There are a lot of other buttons. For example, you can now log tools for the started SFC. You can also log non-conformances if it's needed. And there are the standard functionalities also with the sign-off of the SFC and also the completion of the SFC. In a few seconds, I will then again sign off this SFC again. And then the green field will get blue again. Also, the operation is blue again, and we can see here the SFC was successfully signed off. And to create and configure such pods, there is in the DMC the pod design application. And with this pod designer, you can configure the layout and use the standard functionalities like we saw in this video right before, which are coming with the DMC. And I also want to give you an insight into the pod designer. So this is how the tile, the functionality, the application looks like. If you jump right into the pod designer, you can see all your pods which are available at your plant. And we will take the pod we had a look before. And you can see here the different panes. You can see the layout. You can choose different containers here. And also there are the different plugins of the DMC, and which are the standard plugins here. And on the right side, you see then the few buttons we already clicked on, and you can configure each of these buttons. For example, you can click on the Start button, can also see the configuration for it, so how big the button is, the colors of the button, and also the actions of these buttons. So right now, there's only one action behind this button. So there's the Start SFC button action, and you can also configure this action or put here additional actions for this button. What is also very interesting is that we can configure the lists. So I choose here the work list. You can see which list is now shown here. You can change the list, you can configure the list, you can create new lists if you want to. These are now all available lists in this plant. And for each pod and for each list, you can also change then the column properties. So for example, the width, the length of all the columns, and you have a lot of configuration options here. And last but not least, I want to show you how to add, for example, such a plugin. So we have here the work instruction component list plugin from before. And now I will add here a clock plugin just to show you how easy it is. So you drag and drop the plugin here. You have then the clock, and you can configure here the properties. So for example, you can change the position of the text of this clock to besides the icon, and also choose different icons which are proper for the functionalities of the plugins. So I used here a clock. And what is a really cool functionality in the pod designer is that you can have a preview of this pod right away. So you can click on the Googles on the top, and you can see here the pod from before, with one difference that we have here a new tab with the clock, where you can see then the time when this video was recorded. So now you saw all the standard functionalities of the pod, and as well as the pod designer. And even though there are a lot of options to personalize and the actions and the design, not all of the needs of customers can be met with this standard. And here we get back to the user interface extensions. So in the DMC, it is possible to implement custom extensions directly in the cloud with modern Java and JavaScript extension models. And what I mean with directly in the cloud is that you have to integrate your applications into your digital manufacturing cloud via the business technology platform. I mentioned this before. So 2 or 3 sentences to the BTP, the business technology platform. It's the central point of entry to the cloud platform. And there you can access your different applications and accounts like the DMC, and manage all your activities associated with them. And to give you an idea how this BTP cockpit looks like, I have here a screenshot of our BTP. And here you can see the overview with different accounts and applications. And you can see the third account is our DMC system, which runs currently on the Microsoft Azure. And in this sub-account of our DMC, you can already see here spaces where the different pod plugins are visible. But more of this later with Ardit. And now the question is, what do we understand now under custom pod plugins? So such custom extensions providing a lot of flexibility when it comes to implementing the DMC in your production. So for example, you can show additional custom data from different systems. You can open external applications or run even custom developed application in the pod itself. And in the last few months, Concirco developed various extensions in the DMC, and I want to show them now. So let's start with our extension in the work instruction sector. So I will show you now a video with standard functionalities, and then afterwards the extensions we did there. So we have our pod again from before with our 3D printer, and you can see here again the long work instruction list with 50 entries. And always when you click on the work instruction list on an item, the work instruction viewer is opened, and you can see, for example, pictures. You can zoom in, zoom out, drag and drop everything. So you can see the pictures really good. What is also a really cool feature is that you can implement 3D models. So you can open the 3D models inside the pod. Sorry. And also have here a BOM, bill of material of the whole components of this 3D model. You can hide a few parts. You can also make the parts visible again to see exactly the components you want to look at. You can also zoom in there. You can drag and drop. You can turn around the model and also make this small again to see it directly in the pod with all the other information like order information, operation information, and all the things you need to fulfill the production needs. So this is what is possible here in the standard. And what Concirco got from feedback from the industry and also from partners is that it would also be good if you can show videos here. And currently it is possible to upload videos as work instructions in the work instruction, in the managed work instruction application in the DMC, but you cannot show them directly in the pod. So if you click then on a video in the work instruction list, you would only download the video and then watch the video. And we thought, okay, we can do this better. So we created an extension. I showed you here a screenshot of the pod designer, and you can see on the right side there is a custom extension from Concirco, which is here enabled. And we can have here also a video where I can show it. We have two different options. So the first option is if we open now the video, it opens directly in the new tab and it streams here. So this was the first step, and we thought, okay, this is also an enhancement to only downloading the data, but we went also a step further. We also integrated this video player into the pod itself. You can see it here. So you have here the streaming of the video, and you don't have to open a new tab or download anything or something else. So this was the first step of Concirco into creating and using custom extensions. And in the next step, we thought about a bigger project where we can integrate different extensions into an assembly showcase. And for this showcase, I want to elaborate a little bit further. So we had feedback from the industries, and we thought in order to increase the efficiency in the manufacturing industry, that assistance systems in the manual assembly areas are increasingly being considered, especially under use of digital technologies. And therefore, we as Concirco dealt with the question of which technologies can be integrated into an assembly station of the future to realize a digitalized assembly process in an efficient form. And to get to the bottom of this question and to prove the practicality as well as the feasibility in the connection with the DMC, we created an assembly station of the future, and we set up a showcase called the Next Generation Intelligent Assembly Pod. And here, the assembly process of a model car was simulated, with the employee being supported by various digital technologies. And a strong focus was placed there on part identification and also human-machine interaction. And the part identification is particularly necessary in multivariant assembly processes with many different parts. And the identification is needed to retrieve the corresponding data of the components from the MES and to document the use for traceability, for example, or to record the consumption. And in addition to that, the interaction or the control of the systems is used, in our case, the Digital Manufacturing Cloud. This is an important point when it comes to supporting people in the manual assembly processes. To give you a brief overview over the showcase, I will start with the hardware of this assembly station. So the goal of the worker is to assemble a model car called ConCar. And as an infrastructure, we have an all-in-one PC with touchscreen, as well as a camera which records the working surface. And as a personal equipment for the worker, we have a hand scanner which can allows flexibility and mobility. And let me jump now to the interesting part for this webinar, so the software components of this showcase. So you can see here the pod of the ConCar of the next generation assembly station. We have here again the work center and also the resource at the top. And on the left side, you can see the work list. So we have here 2 SFCs. And we also have here our operation activity list. So this SFC has 5 operations at this work center, at this resource. And the complete right side here is our custom plugin. So this is custom developed by our developers, by Concircle, and I will now go through the features we implemented here. So the first feature is the work instruction step documents. So as you saw before, we always had a work instruction list and then a work instruction viewer. And so you need a lot of space to have a list with work instruction, and then you have to show them in another place. And we thought, okay, we don't need the work instruction list. We have here steps. We can have here 2 buttons, the next and the back button, and we can go through this list without showing the list and going through all the steps of the assembly. The next thing we implemented is multimodal interaction first of all, via touchscreen. Okay, it's clear we have an all-in-one PC with touchscreen, but we also implemented voice recognition, so voice commands. So you can see here a little microphone, also a button with on-off, and we can turn on and off here the microphone and use voice commands. Currently, we have implemented the next and the back commands, so we can jump through the work instructions with voice commands. The next thing is we have work instruction navigation with hand gesture recognition. So we have our camera, which is aiming on the working surface, and we can show, for example, a fist with the thumb on the left side or the right side, and also go back or next in the work instructions list. And last but not least, I think the coolest feature of this next generation assembly station in our custom developments is the component recognition and validation with a neural network. So what we have done here is we used AI, artificial intelligence, to recognize all the different parts we need for the different operations. So at this operation, we need here 5 parts. You can see it in the component list, and these are all red, so not validated. And we implemented that we can show the different parts into the camera, then the artificial intelligence recognize the parts. And if the part is getting assembled at this operation, we also validate them in the DMC here, and the part gets green. So these are our features, and I will show them now in a short video, also with the pod and integrated with the process. Yeah, so now here is a short video. You can see the car, you can see the worker, how the worker starts now the pod. You can see different parts. Now the worker takes the biggest part here, the ConCar body, it's called, the component, and will hold it under the camera. to validate it. And now we jump back to the pod, and you can see how the Concar bodies hold into the camera and how it gets verified. And also in the list on the right side, in the component list, it's now green. And now the worker continues to scan all the components. And now in a few moments, he will scan a component which is not part of this operation. And there, the artificial intelligence recognizes the part, but it says it's a possible wrong component for this operation. So he recognizes the part, but it's not validated because it's not part of this operation. And now the worker will continue with scanning all the parts. And then when all parts are scanned, we get a confirmation and we jump right into the work instruction of this operation. Here also a few seconds of scanning using the hand scanner in our digital assembly process. And this there you can scan the serial numbers of the different parts and for traceability, and also assemble then the car. And last but not least, I want to go into the voice recognition. So this video is unfortunately without sound, but you can see it visually. So if the worker now say next, the work instruction jump to the next step in the work instruction list. And to show it a little bit better to you, I have prepared a second video. This is the only video which has sound. So if you can hear me, you will also hear the voice comments. So we have here at the top the microphone, so it's now turned on. And with the next command, the work instruction jumps to the next step. And with the command back, then it jumps back to the previous step. So I hope I could give you a good overview about the custom extensions we had and the processes where we implemented them, and want now to give over to Ardit, who will tell you a little bit about the technical points and the implementation of such custom extensions.
Thank you, Clemens. Hello all. So our first step was towards the UI extensions, since in different production scenarios, the requirements may vary. The interface for us is a strong factor on productivity and for tailoring the experience of the users. We saw also from Clemens earlier that how great the SAP DMC plugins are, and how the pod designer works. And from these standard plugins, we were triggered for new ideas, and we immediately started to think beyond that. So that was the starting point for our UI solution, the current SAP DMC plugins. The technical environment where all this takes place is SAP Business Technology Platform. Our code, what we develop is started or is developed on the Business Application Studio. Then after that, we deploy it on the Cloud Foundry, and this application, this small application, is then called for and used from the SAP DMC. This is a screenshot from the Business Application Studio, where we develop SAP UI5 solutions. They are like standalone SAP UI5 applications, but this standalone SAP UI5 application need to interact also with the current status of the pod, of the dashboard, and also with the others standard or custom plugins. And the first need was to know the status of the pod, to know the work center where we are, and to know where the SFC that was selected, to know the operation that we have selected on the pod. And this can be achieved by the plugin view controller. Is the library which informs us at first place for for the status of the dashboard, for the status of the other plugins. But we do not want to know only the status. We want also to communicate for sure with the other plugins and with SAP DMC and so on. And we have this communication in both directions. We want to give information, we want to take information, we want to do actions and inform the standard plugins. So let's say we want to start an SFC from our UI extension. And we want our pod to be informed about this. We want our list to be refreshed or to push notifications. And we do this by the push notifications feature. And this push notifications feature is configured on the pod designer by enabling, in this case, the start SFC. But the same we want to have also in the other direction, from the standard plugins, from the SAP DMC to our UI extensions. So we saw in the example, in the UI extensions that Clemens showed to us, that as soon as he selected an operation, the work instruction list was refreshed, and we could see the work instructions for that operation. And we do this by subscribing the events. SAP DMC provides us a list of events, and in this case, we use the operation change event. And on the operation change event, we get the work instructions list. But how do we get this work instructions list? We get it by communicating through the APIs. The APIs go in both directions. They go SAP DMC offers a variety of APIs, and these are services that can be called from our UI extensions to do actions. So in this case, we called an API to get the work list, to get the links and so on, the information, the description, and the steps. But we can also send, we can do a post for starting SFC or for doing a complete SFC, for example. Then, after developing our application, we deploy it. And with this application, somewhere should run. So it does not actually run on the SAP DMC. It runs on the Cloud Foundry in the SAP Business Technology platform. We create spaces where our plugins are deployed and where they run. And what Cloud Foundry offers us is an URL, a URL that we can use to call these standalone SAP UI5 applications from our DMC pod designer. But before viewing them in the pod designer plugins, we need to configure these UI extensions. And the first step that we need to do is complete the mandatory fields. And the first mandatory field is the URL that Cloud Foundry provides us. The second one is the path. It's the path of the application that we have deployed, and also the namespace of the SAP UI5 application. Later on, this service configured in the Manage Service Registry under the UI Extensions tab is then enabled, and it can be called on the pod designer, same as the standard plugins that Clemens showed us. But after that, we of course need to go forward also with extensions of the processes. So it's not only the UI. Through the production process design tool, we can build our own production processes. We can edit the current production processes, and we can make the production processes to communicate with external systems. And here at the external systems, I would like to stop a bit, and I would say they are considered as side-by-side applications. Imagine having a Node.js application that is running and it is aligned with your SAP DMC. And this application holds for you information, holds for you databases, offers you services. And SAP DMC has offered us the Kima runtime environment. For example, Kima empowers you to develop, run, and operate cloud-native applications. In Kima, we can deploy our own services built in Node.js, for example, and expose them to be used by the DMC in the production process design tool. Let's say Kima provides you with a host name. It provides you with an URL at the end. And you can use this URL, you can use this host to configure a web server in the managed web server in the SAP DMC. Later on, for this web server, you can configure the services and then use these services on the production design tool dashboard. The production design tool, production process design tool is I would say, is simplified, and it's really nice feature, but it offers you at the same time a wide range of open options. I would emphasize that it offers you actions that are readable and dynamic. So it supports you to get the correct values from the actions you do. Let's say you get the information from the resource, and it supports you to get the exact information you need. It also supports you, it also offers you the possibility to write script tasks on your logic. You can write, we write day-to-day JavaScript code on the for the production processes, and this JavaScript code is inside the production process design tool and interacts with the standard processes. But it also offers you a nice debugging features, a nice log also for the debugging. Here in this view, we have a production process, a really simple production process on the debugging mode. And I've taken this screenshot because I think this gives some interesting features. The first one is, as we can see, the debugging. We have stopped, we have seen, and it gives you the current status, the output of that we have at this point. The log, it has the log of the actions. We can see here that the process has a start point and an end point. The process and not only the process, but each action takes inputs and outputs. And also we can have actions that can be like, I see it as the MII that we have used till today, but it's more advanced. It offers actions that can communicate with the execution system. It can start, it offers actions that start, the SFCs that completes, that get resource information, and so on. In this case here, we have another action, a custom action. It is an action that communicates to a third party, as we saw earlier, I said earlier. So it's an action that I get some information from an external service, and I get this information here, and I can use this information to communicate with my current processes. The next slide tells is a screenshot, or two screenshots, in fact, from the monitor production processes. The SAP DMC for the production processes offers also a nice logging of what happened. And in the first picture, we have the two executions that I had on this production process, and they were both completed. We have the time, we have the duration, and so on. But we can also enter in details and see more information about this this production process. We can also see if this production process went to error. We can see at which step this production process went to error, and have this way a very interesting logging of the error. After that, we build the production processes and we would like to call them and to execute them. For calling and executing them is as easy as the standard production processes. Clemens showed us earlier how he can assign actions to the buttons in the pod designer. And the same way, these production processes are exposed and can be called in the pod designer. Thank you. This was on my side.
Thank you, Ardit. Thank you, Clemens. So yes, that was it for today. And you see the contacts of Clemens and Ardit in case you have some questions or maybe complex questions that you would like to discuss. We are very happy to have a non-binding calls or meetings with you. So please let us know. And we have 10 minutes now for our Q&A. I will stop the recording now.